Welcome everybody. This is Ratish Pandey from Action Coach New Delhi. And with me, I have another phenomenal entrepreneur, Rajat Srivastava. Rajat, if you would like to tell us a little bit about what you do and what does your company do?
Hi Ratish, it's a pleasure to meet you. And hi everyone, I'm Rajat, founder and CEO of DesignX. DesignX is a manufacturing B2B SaaS company. We happen to digitize shop floor, and we happen to do it really good because we are one of the fastest, shop floor digitization company, fastest growing shop floor digitization company. We are based out of Delhi, and we are catering to all sorts of state-of-the-art market leaders such as Unilver, Suzuki, Bajaj, and these sort of companies.
Great. Rajat, welcome and great to have you on this interview at Business Spotlight series. So let me start, and you just mentioned, you are the fastest growing, and that sort of links to growth. So quick question that comes to my mind is, what do you attribute this growth to, Rajat?
Building for the customers. So, I mean, one of the things that we learned in the very beginning, that sometimes there would be so many things that you would think that it's right for the customer, but you have to listen the customer out. So that's one very fundamental thing that we have implemented across the organization, that we hear out our customers, because they ultimately know that what exactly they want, what exactly they are seeking. And the moment you develop that muscle of hearing them, and building accordingly, is definitely a road to success. What I've seen so far.
Okay, so what I hear is, hear from the customer what do they want, and then build a product that really fits their needs. Great,
Yes.
Great stuff. Anything else that you would want to add here? I'm sure this is just one element, but I'm sure there'll be a couple more.
Okay. No. So actually, success is for a company is basically a 360-degree job. So I mean, generally, product is perceived to be one of the most important things, for which you largely have to listen the customer. Like that was the aspect of it. But I believe so that's what defines the success of the product. But success of the company, I largely attribute to three aspects. So I call it's 40% product, it's 30% your business model, and 30% execution. So these are the three important pillars for me. Like getting the product is one of the most crucial part, but getting the right business model, at what price point, what would be the actual ROIs, where they can get the actual ROIs, whether if this product is not one of those products where it is like so expensive that the customer is not going to get the right ROI, or if the product is priced in such a way that company is losing money, us as a company is losing money. It's very important to figure it out. And last part, which generally I've seen, one of the biggest gap where a company being successful and a company not being successful is the business processes, right? So what happens is, despite a great product, despite a great business model, where a very promising company crumbles is with a lack of or lag in execution. So these are the three larger pillars, and it is the execution part where you need to invest so much in your team, where you need to collaborate so much with your team. And so, yeah, this is the third one, largely one of the highest overlooked vertical while building a business. So these are the three important attributes.
As they say, devil lies in the detail, right? And execution is all about detail. And what you're addressing for most of your customers is the execution capability on the factory floor.
Yes.
So great stuff, and great work there. So I believe, Rajat, today you employ about 70 plus employees, and you obviously there are plans with the growth that is coming in. This number is going to probably go X number, multiplier X. So what has been your biggest learning as an employer?
Okay, so as an employer, generally, initially you you have this sort of perception that it's all about hiring the best of the best employee. There is no exception for it. Like, I personally feel that every employee is the best. Like, whosoever, working for you is the best employee, well, first of all. But the thing that I realized that it's not the employees, the quality of the employee, which is super important, but it's also like how much clarity you are giving to that employee, like what he's supposed to work and how he's supposed to work for, right? So that is also equally important, right? Now initially, like when we used to hire people, we were under the impression that once you hire these rocket people, they will suddenly come to your organization and start giving you magic and all that thing. But what happens in the hindsight, that if you're not clear about the organization and the execution of the business, they get equally confused, right, as you are. So telling your employees what exactly they are supposed to do is also a critical element of business. So as my co-founder Nishan keep on saying that you need to tell your employee that where the job is starting and where the job is getting finished up. Because if you won't, either they won't do it at all, or they will do it so much that they will be eventually exhausted, right? So it's very important for the decision maker. It is very important for the execution layer to define that start and end. So this is something that we implement very religiously at Designworks.
I think great advice for entrepreneurs, especially startup entrepreneurs, hire the best and then lay down the rules of the game. Provide the box within which to play. Because if you don't do that, they will just burn out pretty much, right?
Exactly.
Great advice. So while talking of employees, and we'll continue talk about employees a little bit more, how do you, and you just touched upon a little bit upon it, but I'll just sort of delve a little bit deeper. How do you foster a positive and productive work environment within the organization for your employees? So it's all about how do you build that culture of positivity, productivity, so that the employees can perform to the max potential.
Actually, the rules is different for different layer of employees that you're hiring, right? So largely what we have seen is, the very early team that you're hiring, which eventually happens to be your core team in a longer run, you need to build a personal relationship with them, beyond the business hours, beyond the business landscape, right? They should be equally aligned onto the vision and the prospects of the company. They should have the equal clarity as you are. So yeah, so like for this particular initial layer, you have to have that cohesive sort of bonding, and you need to be friends with them. You should hang out with them. That's one of the early learning. And in fact, one of the things that we have experienced at DesignX, that we have hardly a churn of any employee. Till today, there only be 3 or 4 people in last 7 to 8 years who have sort of left us. Most of the people who have ever joined DesignX, in whatsoever stage, whether we have raised fund, whether we are paying decent salary, whether we are not able to pay the decent salary, whether we are in crunch, whether we are in prosperity, most of our people have stuck with us. So that's one fundamental that is something that we have followed. But you cannot hang out with 70, 200, 300 people. It's practically not practical. So one thing that I realized during my journey as an entrepreneur, that after certain level, it's not it's not about how much you are entertaining them, right? It's about how transparent and how sort of judicial platform you can offer them to grow, right? How much unbiased platform you can foster within the organization, so that anyone who is working there can look at those opportunities and can tell themselves, if I work, there won't be any other criteria for me to go up, right? That is the most fundamental thing that one can deploy in their organization at any scale, like creating that democratic system so that anyone have that, can see that though I'm an intern today, I can be a department head, like in 6 months of time, just if I work properly. So this one kind of aspirational environment we always maintain at Designix.
I think I just learned a trick or two from you, Rajat. Great thoughts. The fact that you're promoting merit, you're looking at every employee unbiased with only how this person is performing, he or her. And that really makes a huge difference for the employees, because they know that what matters and what they bring to the table and how they perform. And of course, as you rightly said, as organizations grow, it becomes very difficult for the entrepreneurs to be in touch with every employee. But I'm sure you would be running your town halls and doing the necessary pieces around.
Yes.
So great. Let me sort of shift gears a little bit and talk about running a startup. Rajat, takes it, as everybody says, it's all about hustle, and hustle is all about being on 24/7. So how do you balance your time? How do you balance your time, with running a startup? And you've been doing this now for 6-7 years. So I'm sure it would have taken a toll in terms of the time the business consumes. How do you do that?
Okay, so I would like to break the myth, like, it's never gonna be there's never gonna be a balance, right? Somehow you have to learn the art of doing things simultaneously. So one thing that what I've learned through through the different phases of my journey till today is, like, when I started, obviously there was never a balance and there will be never a balance. But what I've really perfected is mindfulness. I mean, so I sort of meditate. That's one good habit that I still stick to. So one of the advantage or one of the learning that you can take away from mindfulness is, like, when you're doing anything, you just do that thing. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, it can never be like, you're working for an office like 9 to 6, 9 to 7, and then you're spending time at your home. Sometimes it will be totally otherwise. Like, you are 9 to 9, you are working, and then you hardly get time for house. But the point is, whatever time you get for your personal space, you just be mindful about it. And also equally, like, whenever you are working, you just be mindful about that work. So that's all what I've been able to teach myself. It's like, if I'm doing something, I'll be just doing that thing, and that's pretty much take care of it. So whatever time I spend at either of the places, I sort of get the most out of it. Yeah, try to get the most out of it.
So it's all about M's. Huh? The mantra is
Yes,
meditate and mindfulness.
yes, that is something.
Great. That's a great advice to a whole bunch of startup entrepreneurs who will be probably watching this interview. So one last question before I sort of wrap this up, and this is and let me take you back to your first venture, or take you back when you were probably right out of college. If you were to start this all over again, what would you do and what would you not do to be more successful? Basically, what have been your learnings of, or what were the mistakes that, if you can talk about them, be brave and talk about them for others to know, what should they avoid?
So what I would do, I'll still listen to the customers, right? But what I would do even more is, like, I'll say more no's than yeses. That's one key learning, that as a founder, when you start with the product, when you start with the idea, and if you are having the right product or the right idea, you definitely gonna have the adoption, right? But it is a two-edged sword, because when you get the adoptions, you'll also at times you'll get so many requirements which you think is slightly related to the product. We should attempt it, and you'll get tempted, and you might get deviated from your core path. that's one thing that, it's a very nuanced thing, because you still have to listen the customer, but now you have to have a little bit clarity onto your roadmap as well. Like, when I started design X and started building the product, the kind of logos we are currently working with is any working with any one of those, anyone would do anything, right? And we are working with 25 of them, right? So when I initially got, like, 5 6 of these logos, I was so overwhelmed at everything that they said. I was like, yes, why not? I mean, so although we did it added some values, but it also sort of derailed us slightly, which sort of postponed our overall objective to a certain extent. So this time, when if I have to take a reattempt onto what we are doing, I'll think of saying more no's, a little bit more no's than yeses. So, and this holds true for any kind of venture. So whatever you are building, customer will, the moment you'll give customers a good taste, they will keep on demanding for more. So that's where the company has to be mindful.
Yeah. What you've said is really phenomenal, because learning to say no, especially when you're a fledgling startup, it's all about, come on, we are getting this business. Why are we not going ahead with it?
Yes.
And even the investors tell you,
Yes.
Rajat, what's happening? This business is in your lap. Just pick it up, grab it with both your hands and run with it. So great advice.
Yes.
Learn to say no. Rajat, thank you so much. This was really insightful. Really appreciate your time here. And absolutely, I'm sure entrepreneurs across the world would love to hear and see this interview, because you really brought in some solid advice for most of the people. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ritesh. It was also a pleasure speaking with you. And yes, thank you so much for articulating that everything that I said, articulating it very well. Also kudos to it. So thank you so much.